Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, staring at the holographic display that showed 17 star systems under his command. The blue lights represented worlds that belonged to the hegemony, and each one meant billions of lives under their control. For over 1,000 years, his people had conquered every species they met. They were the strongest, the smartest, and the most feared race in this part of the galaxy. But something was wrong. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Zexta from her station, "we have lost contact with 3 more colonies in the Outer Rim." Kethvar's 4 arms tensed. This made 7 colonies that had gone silent in the past month. No distress signals, no emergency broadcasts, no signs of attack. The worlds just stopped talking to them completely. "Any signs of weapon fire? Explosions? Ship battles?" he asked. "Nothing, sir. Our long-range scanners show the planets are still there. The cities look normal from space, but no one is answering our calls." This made no sense to Kethvar. In all his years of war, he had never seen anything like this. When the hegemony attacked a world, they did it with thousands of ships and massive explosions. Everyone in the galaxy knew when they struck, but these colonies had disappeared quietly, like someone had simply turned off a light switch. Far away from the hegemony fleet, Captain Sarah Chen floated in zero gravity inside her ship's command center. The human vessel called Nightfall moved through space without making a sound. Its hull was black as the space around it, and special technology made it invisible to any scanning equipment the hegemony used. "Status report," Chen said to her crew. "All evacuation ships have returned safely," reported Commander Jackson. "We successfully moved 2 million people from the Kepler colony to the hidden base on asteroid KX-7. The Zephyrians will find empty buildings but no bodies." Chen nodded. For 3 years, humanity had been watching the hegemony destroy world after world. They had studied every battle, every weapon, every tactic the aliens used. But instead of attacking directly, humans had chosen a different path. They would save as many lives as possible while preparing for a war the hegemony would never see coming. "What about the quantum stealth drive test?" Chen asked. "Perfect results, Captain. We can keep 300 ships completely hidden for up to 6 months. The enemy scanners cannot detect us even when we are right next to them." Chen smiled. The quantum stealth drive was humanity's greatest invention. While the hegemony relied on bigger ships and more powerful weapons, humans had learned to become invisible. They could move entire fleets without being seen, position their ships anywhere they wanted, and strike when the enemy least expected it. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez worked late in her laboratory. She was the lead scientist for Project Silent Thunder, humanity's plan to defeat the hegemony. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of human ships scattered across 16 star systems. Each green dot represented a stealth vessel waiting for orders. "The phase shield generators are ready," she told Admiral Rebecca Martinez through a secure communication link. "Every ship can now protect itself from hegemony weapons while remaining invisible." Martinez appeared on the screen, her gray hair tied back and her expression serious. "How long until we can begin the operation?" 2 weeks, Admiral. All ships will be in position by then." "Good. The evacuations are almost complete. We have saved over 50 million people from hegemony territory. Once we start the attack, there will be no going back." Dr. Vasquez understood the weight of these words. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. They had developed new technologies, trained millions of soldiers, and built the largest fleet in human history. But they had done it all in secret, making sure the hegemony never knew they existed. Back in hegemony space, General Thanedock reviewed the reports from the silent colonies. As the military's chief strategist, it was his job to understand threats before they became dangerous. But these disappearances made no sense according to everything he knew about warfare. "Could it be pirates?" asked his assistant. "Pirates take things. They steal resources, Capture people for slaves or demand money. These colonies still have all their buildings, all their equipment, all their ships, only the people are gone. Maybe they evacuated themselves? Thanedoc shook his massive head. 50 million people do not just decide to leave their homes at the same time. And where would they go? We control every planet in this region. The general pulled up a star map and studied the pattern of disappearances. The silent colonies formed a rough circle around the hegemony's core worlds. It was almost like someone was clearing a path, preparing for something big. "Send a message to Admiral Kethvar," he ordered. "Tell him to investigate the Vega colony immediately. If there are enemies in our territory, we need to find them before they strike at our important worlds." But Thanedoc did not know that human ships were already watching his every move. Hidden sensors placed throughout hegemony space reported every message, every ship movement, every military decision back to human commanders. Captain Marcus Torres, commanding the stealth ship Shadow Strike, had been monitoring hegemony communications for months. "They are starting to get worried," Torres reported to his crew. "The Zephyrians know something is wrong, but they have no idea what it is." "Should we be concerned about their investigation?" asked his weapons officer. "No. By the time they figure out what happened to those colonies, it will be too late. Our people are already in position." Torres looked at the countdown display on his wall. 14 days, 6 hours, and 37 minutes until Operation Silent Thunder would begin. For 14 more days, the hegemony would continue to believe they were the strongest force in the galaxy. They would keep thinking that no one could challenge their power or threaten their empire. They were wrong. Humanity had been preparing for this war longer than the hegemony had been conquering worlds. While the aliens relied on fear and brute force, humans had chosen patience and careful planning. They had learned every weakness in hegemony defenses, developed weapons specifically designed to counter alien technology, and positioned their forces for maximum surprise. The age of hegemony dominance was about to end. The aliens just did not know it yet. Admiral Kethvar led his fleet of 200 warships toward the Vega colony. Each vessel stretched over a kilometer long and carried enough firepower to destroy an entire city. The sight of his fleet had made countless worlds surrender without a fight. Today, he expected to find whatever force was responsible for the silent colonies and crush it completely. "Admiral, we are approaching Vega system," announced Navigator Hexrel. "All sensors are active. If there are enemy ships here, we will find them." Kethvar studied the tactical display. Vega colony had been home to 12 million people just 2 weeks ago. It was an important mining world that supplied rare metals to the hegemony fleet. Losing it would hurt their ability to build new ships. "Begin full-spectrum scans," he ordered. "Check for weapon signatures, engine trails, anything that might tell us what happened here." The massive fleet moved into orbit around Vega's main planet. The sensors immediately began sending back strange information. "Sir," called Lieutenant Zexta, "I am reading all the normal structures. The cities are intact. The mining facilities are undamaged. The planetary defense systems are still in place and functional. And the population? 0 life signs, Admiral. The planet is completely empty." Kethvar felt a chill run through his body. An empty world with no signs of battle was impossible. "Send teams down to investigate. I want to know what happened to those people." What the hegemony did not know was that Captain Marcus Torres and his team had spent weeks carefully evacuating Vega colony. Using advanced transport technology, they had moved every person to hidden bases in distant asteroid fields. The operation had taken place during the colony's night cycle, with human stealth ships landing and taking off without triggering any alarms. Torres watched from his invisible ship as hegemony forces landed on the planet below. "They look confused," he reported to the human fleet command. Their soldiers are checking every building, every vehicle, every facility. They cannot understand how an entire population could disappear. Good, replied Admiral Martinez from Earth. The more confused they become, the less prepared they will be for what comes next. How are the resistance groups on other worlds? Ready and waiting. We have armed fighters on 37 hegemony worlds. They have communication equipment that the enemy cannot detect, weapons designed to punch through alien armor, and complete maps of military targets. When we give the signal, they will strike simultaneously. Torres had spent months building these resistance networks. The hegemony had conquered so many species over the centuries that millions of people wanted revenge. Humans had simply given them the tools and training they needed to fight back. On the planet Zerion, a former hegemony slave named Corral checked her hidden weapon cache. The humans had provided her people with energy rifles that could penetrate Zephyrian battlesuits. More importantly, they had given her hope that the hegemony could actually be defeated. Tonight is the night, she told her team of 20 fighters. The humans said they would attack at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time. When their ships appear, we hit the military command center. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds throughout hegemony space. Species that had been conquered decades ago were preparing to reclaim their freedom. The humans had not just built a fleet to fight the hegemony. They had built an entire galaxy-wide rebellion. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez made final adjustments to the quantum stealth systems. 300 human warships were now positioned throughout hegemony territory, each one invisible and ready to strike. The ships were not as large as hegemony vessels, but they carried weapons specifically designed to exploit alien weaknesses. Phase shield generators are operating at 100% efficiency, she reported to Admiral Martinez. Every ship can remain cloaked during combat and deflect incoming fire without becoming visible. What about the hammer pulse weapons? Ready for deployment. Our tests show they can disable hegemony shields with a single hit. After that, their ships become vulnerable to conventional weapons. Admiral Martinez nodded as she studied the battle plans one final time. Operation Silent Thunder was the most complex military operation in human history. It required perfect timing across 16 star systems, with every captain knowing exactly when to decloak and which targets to hit first. Send the final orders to all ships, she commanded. Operation Silent Thunder begins in 6 hours. Meanwhile, General Thanedock grew more worried with each passing hour. Reports from Admiral Kethavar's investigation of Vega Colony made no sense. The world had been evacuated perfectly, with no signs of panic or resistance. Every building was clean and organized, as if the population had simply walked away. This is not possible, he told the Hegemony High Command. You cannot move 12 million people without leaving some trace. There should be ship landing marks, disrupted soil, abandoned belongings. Instead, we find nothing. Chancellor Vexatar, the leader of the hegemony, dismissed these concerns with a wave of his hand. Perhaps the colonists were taken as slaves by some unknown group. It does not matter. We will rebuild the colonies with new populations. Chancellor, with respect, this feels different. We have lost over 50 million people from 7 different worlds. The pattern suggests careful planning, advanced technology, and significant resources. We may be facing a threat we do not understand. Impossible. The hegemony is the strongest force in this galaxy. No species has the power to challenge us directly. If someone is playing games in our territory, we will find them and destroy them. But Thanedock was not convinced. As the hegemony's chief military strategist, he had studied every major war in their history. This situation felt like the calm before a massive storm. Someone was moving carefully, preparing for something big. The question was what, and when would it happen? Captain Sarah Chen made final preparations aboard the Nightfall. Her ship was positioned directly above Vorthak Prime, the hegemony's most important shipyard. In just a few hours, she would decloak and begin the attack that would change the galaxy forever. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her tactical officer. "Weapons charged, shields operational, target coordinates confirmed." "Remember, we strike only military targets," Chen reminded her crew. "Civilian areas are off-limits. We want to defeat the hegemony, not become like them." Chen looked at the countdown timer on her wall. 5 hours and 23 minutes until humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. For 3 years, they had remained hidden, watching and planning. Soon, the hegemony would learn that they were no longer the apex predators in this region of space. The storm was about to break, and the aliens had no idea what was coming for them. At exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time, the galaxy changed forever. Captain Sarah Chen watched her countdown timer reach 0. "All ships," she broadcast on the secure human frequency, "Operation Silent Thunder is now active. Decloak and engage." Around her, the Nightfall's quantum stealth drive powered down. Suddenly, the human warship became visible to every scanner in the Vorthak system. But Chen's ship was not alone. Throughout hegemony space, 300 human vessels appeared simultaneously, emerging from invisibility like ghosts, becoming real. On Vorthak Prime's orbital defense station, Technician Morval stared at his scanner display in complete shock. One moment, space around the planet was empty except for a few cargo ships. The next moment, massive unknown warships surrounded the entire star system. "Alert! Alert!" he screamed into his communicator. "Enemy fleet detected! Unknown ships appearing everywhere!" But Morval's warning came too late. Chen's Nightfall was already launching its first attack against the shipyard's defense grid. The human vessel fired precise energy beams that cut through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. Within seconds, the station's weapons were offline. "Broadcasting surrender terms," Chen announced to her crew. "All hegemony forces in this system, power down your weapons immediately. Comply and you will not be harmed. Resist and we will destroy you." Similar scenes played out across 16 star systems. Captain Yuki Tanaka commanded the Storm's End above the hegemony's capital world. Her target was Admiral Kethvar's flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Conquest. Kethvar had been studying reports from Vega Colony when his ship's alarms began screaming. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown vessel decloaking directly in front of us," shouted his weapons officer. "It appeared from nowhere." On the tactical display, Kethvar saw a sleek black ship that was barely half the size of his dreadnought. He had never seen anything like it. The hull design was completely alien, and his scanners could not identify its weapon systems or power source. "Open fire," he ordered. "Destroy it immediately." The Eternal Conquest's main guns fired massive energy blasts that should have vaporized any ship in space. But something incredible happened. The human vessel's shields absorbed the attack completely, then seemed to redirect the energy back at the hegemony ship. "Impossible," whispered Kethvar as he watched his own weapons fire strike his ship's hull. Captain Tanaka had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. "Target their weapon systems with hammer pulse generators," she ordered. "Let's show them what human technology can do." The Storm's End fired a series of purple energy beams that passed through hegemony shields as if they did not exist. Each beam struck a different weapon system on the alien dreadnought, causing them to overload and explode. Within 30 seconds, the most powerful ship in the hegemony fleet was completely defenseless. "This is Captain Yuki Tanaka of the human warship Storm's End," she broadcast to Kethvar's bridge. "Admiral, you have 60 seconds to surrender your ship. Your weapons are destroyed. Your shields are down. Do not make us target your engines." Kethvar stared at the communication screen in disbelief. Humans. He had never heard of this species. Where had they come from? How had they built ships that could defeat hegemony technology so easily? Throughout the galaxy, similar battles were ending with the same result. Human ships were systematically disabling hegemony forces without destroying them completely. The attacks were precise, calculated, and overwhelmingly effective. On the planet Xerion, Karal heard the explosions beginning in the sky above. That was her signal. "Now!" she shouted to her resistance team. "Strike the command center!" Armed with human weapons, her fighters stormed the hegemony military base that had controlled her world for 30 years. The alien guards were caught completely off guard. They had been watching the space battle above and never saw the attack coming from behind. Similar uprisings erupted on 37 worlds simultaneously. Conquered species that had waited decades for freedom suddenly had the weapons and support they needed to reclaim their worlds. The hegemony found themselves fighting two wars at the same time, one in space and one on the ground. General Thanedoc tried desperately to coordinate a defense from his command ship near the hegemony homeworld. "All fleets converge on your nearest human vessel. We must stop this attack." But his orders were useless. Human ships were too fast, too advanced, and too well positioned. Every time hegemony forces tried to group together for a counterattack, they found human vessels already waiting for them. Captain Marcus Torres led a squadron of modified human freighters against a hegemony battle group near Kepler Station. His ships looked harmless from the outside, but they carried the same advanced weapons as the larger human warships. "Remember," he told his pilots, "we want to disable, not destroy. These aliens have families too." Torres's squadron moved in perfect coordination, using swarm tactics that confused the larger hegemony ships. While the alien vessels tried to track one target, 3 others would attack from different directions. It was like watching a pack of small, fast animals bring down a large, slow predator. The battle at Kepler Station lasted only 20 minutes. When it ended, 8 hegemony ships had been disabled and their crews captured. Torres's squadron had not lost a single vessel. Across the galaxy, the results were the same everywhere. Human ships appeared, struck with devastating precision, and demanded surrender. The hegemony's military might, built over 1,000 years of conquest, crumbled in less than 1 hour. Admiral Martinez watched the reports coming in from all 16 battlefields. "Status report," she requested. "Operation Silent Thunder is succeeding beyond our projections," came the reply from her intelligence officer. "Enemy military capability reduced by 73%. All major shipyards and weapons facilities are under our control. Resistance movements are securing 31 planets. Hegemony command structure is in complete chaos." Martinez allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Every ship position, every weapon design, every tactical plan had been tested and refined. The hegemony never had a chance. But she also felt the weight of responsibility. With great power came great duty. Now that humanity had revealed itself as the strongest force in the galaxy, they would need to decide what kind of galactic civilization they wanted to build. "Send a message to all hegemony leaders," she ordered. "Tell them we are ready to discuss terms for their surrender. Make it clear that further resistance will only bring more destruction." The age of hegemony domination was over. The age of human guardianship was about to begin. General Thanedoc refused to accept defeat. From his damaged command ship, he sent messages to every remaining hegemony vessel in the galaxy. "All ships, all fleets, converge on Kepler Station. We will show these humans that the hegemony does not surrender." 3 days after the initial attack, Thanedoc had managed to gather nearly 400 ships from scattered hegemony forces. It was the largest fleet he could assemble, combining vessels from 12 different star systems. The ships were damaged and their crews were demoralized, but Thanedoc believed that superior numbers could still win the day. "Today we reclaim our honor," he announced to his fleet. "These humans may have surprised us, but they cannot defeat the full might of the hegemony." What Thanedoc did not know was that Captain Marcus Torres had been watching his fleet gather for 2 days. The human stealth ships had followed every hegemony vessel as it traveled to the meeting point. Torres knew exactly how many ships were coming, what weapons they carried, and how they planned to attack. "Admiral Martinez," Torres reported, "the enemy is moving toward Kepler Station with everything they have left. 400 ships in total. Can you handle them with your current forces?" Martinez asked. "Easily. We have learned so much about their tactics over the past 3 years. They still think bigger ships and more guns are the answer to every problem." Torres commanded 30 human vessels at Kepler Station. His ships were smaller than the approaching hegemony fleet, but each one carried technology that the aliens could not match. More importantly, his crews had trained for exactly this kind of battle. When Thanedoc's fleet arrived at Kepler Station, they found the human ships waiting for them in what appeared to be a weak defensive formation. The hegemony general smiled. "Attack Formation Gamma," he ordered. "Concentrate all fire on their largest ship." But as soon as the hegemony ships began their assault, Torres revealed the true nature of human warfare. "Execute Swarm Pattern 7, he commanded. "Show them how real space combat works." The 30 human ships suddenly split apart and began moving in complex patterns that confused the hegemony targeting systems. Instead of standing still and trading shots like traditional space battles, the human vessels darted between enemy ships like angry insects. Each human ship targeted a different hegemony vessel. They fired quick bursts from their hammer pulse weapons, disabling alien shields and weapon systems, then moved on to the next target before the enemy could respond. Within minutes, the organized hegemony formation had collapsed into chaos. "What is happening?" Thanedoc demanded as alarms screamed throughout his ship. "Why cannot we hit them?" "Their ships are too fast, General. They attack from one direction, then appear somewhere completely different. Our gunners cannot track them." Torres watched the battle from his command ship Shadow Strike. The human swarm tactics were working perfectly. His vessels were systematically disabling the hegemony fleet without taking significant damage themselves. It was not even a fair fight. "General Thanedoc," Torres broadcast on an open frequency, "you are fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's technology. Surrender now and save the lives of your crews." "Never," Thanedoc replied. "The hegemony will never bow to an inferior species." Torres sighed. He had hoped the alien commander would be more reasonable. "Very well. Continue the demonstration." The human ships intensified their attack. Now, instead of just disabling weapons, they began targeting engines and life support systems. Hegemony vessels found themselves drifting helplessly in space, their crews trapped aboard powerless ships. The battle lasted only 47 minutes. When it ended, the entire hegemony fleet was either destroyed or captured. Thanedoc's own ship was among the disabled vessels, its crew rescued by human medical teams. On the hegemony homeworld, Chancellor Vextar watched the reports coming in with growing horror. Not only had they lost the battle at Kepler Station, but uprisings were spreading across their empire. Species that had been conquered decades ago were declaring independence with human support. "How many worlds have we lost?" he asked his advisors. 31 planets have declared independence, Chancellor. Another 15 are in open revolt. The humans are providing weapons and tactical support to every resistance group in our territory." Vextar felt his empire crumbling around him. In just 1 week, humanity had accomplished what no enemy had managed in 1,000 years. They had broken the hegemony's military power and turned their own subjects against them. A communication request came through from the human fleet. Admiral Rebecca Martinez appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but determined. "Chancellor Vexitar," she said, "I am Admiral Martinez of the Human Confederation. I believe it is time we discuss the future of this galaxy." "What do you want?" Vextar asked, trying to sound strong despite his desperate situation. "Peace," Martinez replied simply. But peace on our terms. The age of conquest and slavery is over. The hegemony will disarm completely and pay reparations to every species you have enslaved. Your military will be disbanded and your warships scrapped. And if we refuse? Martinez's expression did not change. Then we will remove your government and install leaders who are more interested in cooperation than conquest. Make no mistake, Chancellor, humanity now controls this region of space. The only question is whether you will work with us or be replaced by someone who will. The terms were harsh but fair. The hegemony would survive as a species, but they would never again be able to threaten other worlds. Their massive military would be converted to civilian purposes. Their conquered territories would be freed, and they would spend decades making amends for their past crimes. On the planet Zerion, Coral stood in the former hegemony command center, now flying her world's original flag. Around her, freed prisoners were celebrating their liberation after 30 years of occupation. The humans kept their promise, she told her followers. They said they would help us reclaim our freedom, and they did exactly that. Similar celebrations were happening on dozens of worlds throughout former hegemony space. Species that had almost forgotten their own cultures were rebuilding their governments and reclaiming their heritage. But Captain Torres knew the real work was just beginning. Destroying an empire was much easier than building a lasting peace. Admiral, he reported to Martinez, we have requests for protection from 47 different worlds. They are worried about pirates, raiders, and other threats. Then we will protect them, Martinez replied. Humanity did not reveal itself to become the new hegemony. We are here to ensure that no single species can ever again dominate the galaxy through force. The human fleet began establishing bases throughout the region, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. Their advanced technology would prevent any future aggressor from building the kind of military force the hegemony had possessed. As Torres looked out at the stars from his ship's bridge, he realized that humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had not just won a war, they had changed the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. Never again would weaker species live in fear of stronger ones. The galaxy was entering a new age, and humanity would be its guardian. 3 months had passed since the day humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her ship, watching a sight that would have been impossible just a few months ago. Human and Zephyrian engineers worked side by side, converting a massive hegemony warship into a hospital vessel. It is strange, said former Admiral Kethvar, who now served as Chen's advisor on hegemony technology. 6 months ago, I would have ordered my ships to destroy any human vessel on sight. Today, I am helping you build a better galaxy. Chen nodded. The transformation had been remarkable to witness. Kethvar had chosen to cooperate with humanity after seeing how they treated captured enemies. Instead of execution or imprisonment, humans had offered rehabilitation and a chance to help rebuild what the hegemony had destroyed. Your people adapted faster than we expected, Chen replied. Many former hegemony officers are now working with us to establish peaceful governments on liberated worlds. We had little choice. Your technology is clearly superior, and your intentions appear honorable. Fighting you would have meant the destruction of our entire species. Chen watched as a group of young Zephyrians learned to operate human medical equipment. The hospital ship would serve the Outer Rim territories, providing health care to species that had been neglected under hegemony rule. It was one of dozens of similar projects happening throughout the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez had established the Galactic Technology Council. Representatives from 37 different species worked together in her laboratories, sharing knowledge and developing new innovations for peaceful purposes. The quantum communication network is now operational, she reported to Admiral Martinez during their weekly meeting. Every world in our protection zone can now communicate instantly with any other world, regardless of distance. What about the former hegemony worlds? They are requesting full membership in the network. Chancellor Vextar has agreed to our terms completely. Hegemony military production has been converted to civilian manufacturing. They are now building medical equipment, agricultural tools, and educational technology. Martinez was pleased with the progress. The transition from empire to cooperation had been surprisingly smooth. Most species seemed relieved to be free of constant warfare and conquest. Trade was expanding. Scientific cooperation was flourishing, and conflicts were being resolved through negotiation rather than violence. But she knew the real test was still to come. Humanity had established itself as the galaxy's protector, but that responsibility would last forever. They could never again allow a single species to accumulate the kind of power the hegemony had possessed. Captain Marcus Torres commanded one of the new mixed-species exploration vessels. His crew included humans, Zephyrians, Xerians, and 5 other species that had been enemies just months ago. Together, they were mapping unexplored regions of space and searching for new worlds that might want to join the galactic community. "Captain," called out his science officer, a former hegemony researcher named Veltar, "we are detecting unusual energy readings from the galactic core region." Torres studied the data on his screen. The readings were massive, far larger than anything they had seen before. "Are we looking at natural phenomena or artificial constructs?" "Unknown, sir. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be organized, but not in any way we understand." Torres felt a chill run down his spine. Just when the galaxy had achieved peace, were they about to discover a new threat? "Begin long-range analysis. Prepare a full report for Fleet Command." On the Joint Research Station orbiting Earth, scientists from 20 different species worked together to unlock the secrets of the universe. Dr. Vasquez collaborated with former hegemony researchers who had once been her enemies. Together, they were developing technologies that no single species could have created alone. "The energy readings from the galactic core are definitely artificial," reported Dr. Kexolin, a Zephyrian physicist. "The power levels suggest a civilization far more advanced than anything we have encountered." "More advanced than humanity?" asked Dr. Vasquez. "Possibly. The energy signatures indicate technology that we do not yet understand. If there is a species at the galactic core with this level of capability, they could potentially threaten our entire region of space." Dr. Vasquez considered this carefully. Humanity had become the galaxy's guardian by developing superior technology and using it responsibly. But what if they encountered a species that was even more advanced? Would humanity's role as protector become meaningless? "Continue the analysis," she ordered. "We need to learn everything we can about these signals before we make contact." Meanwhile, on the planet Xerion, Corral had been elected as her world's first president in over 30 years. She worked with human advisors to rebuild her planet's economy and establish trade relationships with neighboring worlds. "The agricultural program is exceeding expectations," she reported during a video conference with other planetary leaders. "Human farming technology has increased our food production by 300%. For the first time in decades, no one on our world is hungry." Similar success stories were being reported throughout the region. Worlds that had suffered under hegemony occupation were rebuilding and prospering. Education systems were being restored, healthcare was improving, and cultural traditions that had been suppressed were being revived. But the energy readings from the galactic core remained a growing concern. Long-range sensors continued to detect massive artificial constructs moving in the distant star systems. Whatever species created them possessed technology that dwarfed anything in the current galactic community. Admiral Martinez called a meeting of the Galactic Council, the new organization that had replaced hegemony rule. Representatives from every major species attended, including former hegemony leaders who now worked for peace instead of conquest. We face a potential new challenge, she announced. Our deep space sensors have detected evidence of an extremely advanced civilization near the galactic core. We do not know their intentions, but their technology appears to surpass our own. Chancellor Vextar, who now served as an advisor rather than a dictator, spoke up. What do you recommend, Admiral? Caution and preparation. We will continue monitoring the signals while strengthening our defenses. If this new species proves hostile, we must be ready to protect every world in our region. And if they prove peaceful? Martinez smiled. Then we will welcome them as allies. The galaxy is large enough for all of us. Captain Torres continued his exploration mission, but now with a new purpose. His ship was one of dozens secretly moving toward the galactic core, gathering intelligence on the mysterious energy sources. The mission was dangerous, but humanity had learned never to face an unknown threat unprepared. As he looked out at the stars, Torres reflected on how much had changed since Operation Silent Thunder. Humanity had emerged from hiding to become the galaxy's protector. Former enemies had become allies. Conquered worlds had regained their freedom. Peace and cooperation had replaced fear and domination. But the universe was vast and full of surprises. The energy readings from the galactic core reminded everyone that humanity's greatest challenges might still lie ahead. Whatever species had built those massive constructs possessed power beyond current understanding. For now, the galaxy enjoyed peace under human protection. Trade flourished, science advanced, and different species worked together toward common goals. The age of empire and conquest was over, replaced by an age of cooperation and mutual respect. Yet humanity remained vigilant. They had learned that eternal vigilance was the price of peace. Their fleets patrolled the boundaries of civilized space, their scientists worked to stay ahead of potential threats, and their diplomats built relationships that would endure any crisis. The galaxy was entering a new chapter in its history. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would be faced not by a single dominant species, but by a community of worlds united in their commitment to freedom and peace. And if the mysterious signals from the galactic core represented a new threat, humanity and their allies would be ready.